It's easy to forget what was going down before we got stuck in these King Harald flashback chapters for months. So before the flashback wraps up, let's recap why Elbaf was wild to begin with. From meeting Loki for the first time, to the God's Knights and Emu pulling up in full demon mode. So here is how it all began. The Straw Hats get a lift to Elbaf from the giant warrior pirates led by Dory and Brocky. It is a big deal for the Straw Hats because Elbaf has been this mythical place since the start of the story, and now we're finally getting to see it up close. But the trip doesn't go smoothly because on the way there, the Sunny drifts into the sleeping mist zone, which shockingly puts people to sleep, in case the name didn't slap you in the face hard enough. Before anyone knows what's happening, half of the crew disappears and wakes up into the land of gods. This massive enclosed diorama where humans are treated like living dolls. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew continues with the giants toward Elbaf, and along the way, they learn about Prince Loki, who we learn about in the Whole Cake Island arc because he was supposed to marry Lola. When the Straw Hats start hearing about Loki, it is not in a flattering way. To the giants, he's known as the Accursed Prince, a name that's basically become Elbaf's favorite cautionary tale. He's the younger half-brother of Hadrudin, who we met in Dressrosa, and together they are the sons of the late King Harald, who tried to bring peace and trade to the giants, but everything fell apart after his death. Most people on the island believe Loki killed his own father to steal a legendary devil fruit. It's the story everybody knows and no one questions, because that's what they've been told for years. Loki's story was just doomed from the jump. Cursed kid, semi-deadbeat dad. I mean, you can kind of give him a pass since he's out here trying to make a good impression for Elbaf. Plus, a family so messed up that they're basically a reality show, but somehow tamer than the Kardashians. Just a little background about Loki. When he was born, Queen Estrid, King Harald's official wife, immediately rejected him, saying that his eyes did not look like those of a normal giant baby's, whatever that means. Not long after, she tried to get rid of him by throwing him into the underworld. He survived and climbed back up. That's when the rumors really started to happen. Estrid told people he was cursed, given the name the Accursed Prince, and before long, everything bad that happened in Elbaf got pinned on him. Meanwhile, his father, King Harald, was trying to change how Elbaf worked. He wanted to end the constant fighting and push Elbaf toward peace and trade instead. To show he meant it, he even cut off his own horns, which, for a giant with ancient giant blood, is basically the biggest statement you can make. So Loki grew up with his father barely in his life. Harald was distant, always dealing with the kingdom's problems, and Loki was just stuck with a reputation he didn't earn. His older half-brother Hadrudin had everything he didn't have: support, friends, a place where he belonged. Loki noticed and just built resentment over time. 14 years ago, King Harald was found dead. The kingdom wanted someone to blame, and Loki was just the easy target. People already thought he was bad news, so when the rumor spread that he killed the father to steal a devil fruit, they accepted it immediately and captured him with the help of Shanks. Loki was chained beneath the treasure tree atom, restrained with sea stone, and left in the underworld for the past 6 years. The truth behind Harald's death was never fully uncovered. Loki became the scapegoat, and the real story stayed buried, and that mystery is still driving everything happening on Elbaf right now. So while the rest of Luffy's group are focused on traveling to the Sun World, Luffy suddenly stops. He says he can hear something, a voice coming from deep below the treasure tree atom. Down below, Luffy finds Loki chained to the bottom of the treasure tree atom. Loki tells Luffy that if he frees him, he'll destroy any pirate crew of Luffy's choosing. Luffy's not interested in that though. He just wants to know if Shanks has been here before. And then this happens. Loki talks shit about Shanks, and Luffy fucking snaps. One insult, and the guy throws pacifism straight out the window. Childhood hero worship really said, fuck emotional regulation. Oda actually writes this moment in a way that just feels unusual. Luffy snapping and going gear forth, which he almost never does over something someone says. It's strange because it goes against what Shanks taught him as a kid about not fighting over words. I'm not really sure what the point of that beat is yet, and it's definitely weird and feels out of character for Luffy to react like that. It kind of gives off Luffy versus Zoro Whiskey Peak vibes, if you know what I mean. After things calm down, Luffy drops the fight and goes back to his real question, whether Shanks has been to Elbaf. Loki doesn't give him a straight answer, but offers him a deal instead. If Luffy frees him, he'll tell him what he knows. Luffy does not hesitate. Even with the warnings about Loki's past, he decides to help him anyways. Before he could free Loki, Luffy had to face Scopper Gaban, who was guarding the key to the Sea Stone chains. The fight didn't really have a clear winner since Scopper was just fucking around with Luffy, just testing his resolve. Luffy passes and Scopper's like, yeah, fuck it, and hands him the key. Just real responsible move from a guy who's supposed to keep the one thing that could free a king's alleged murderer under lock and key. By then, the God's Knights were already attacking the surface, taking hostages and throwing Elbaf into chaos. They are not your average Marines or Cypher Pool. They are the Celestial Dragons handpicked judge, jury, and executioner, a crew of elite Celestial Dragons who only answer to the 5 Elders and Emu. Starting with Shamrock and Guko, they use the Abyss technique to teleport straight from the Holy Land to Elbaf, the same magic power we saw back on Egghead Island when the 5 Elders appeared. Once they arrived, Shamrock and Guko headed to the underworld to meet Loki, offering him freedom if he joined their ranks. Loki refused as he did in the past, saying that he'd rather stay in chains than serve him, and that's when the Knights turned violent. Guko and Shamrock beat the shit out of him, trying to break his will, but he still wouldn't give in. After that, they decided on a different plan, to attack Elbaf itself by kidnapping the island's children and using them as hostages to force the giants to surrender. Leading the operation is Figureland Shamrock, confirmed to be Shanks' twin brother. He's calm but ruthless, the one who comes up with a plan to kidnap Elbaf's children and use them as leverage against the giants. We actually saw Shamrock way earlier, back when the 5 Elders met with the guy who we thought was Shanks. But the Elbaf arc obviously revealed that it was Shamrock all along. Shamrock has a sword that's eating the dog fruit Vital Cerberus, a mythical zone fruit that gives the weapon the 3 heads of Cerberus and just monster strength, which again proves that even random objects can eat devil fruits, as Vegapunk discovered. Working under him are 3 other knights with their own devil fruits. Gunko has the Era no Mi, a Paramecia-type devil fruit that lets her create and control bandage-like arrows. Killingham has the mythical zone Kidding fruit, which lets him put people to sleep and bring their dreams and nightmares to life as creatures called sleeptids. Summers uses the Thorn fruit, a Paramecia fruit that lets him control thorny vines during combat. Like the 5 Elders, the God's Knights have immortality. The source of that power hasn't been explained yet, but it's strongly implied to come from Emu's influence. So with Shamrock gone after he's called away shortly to handle a separate emergency in Marijois, which is still unknown in nature, the rest of the God's Knights continue their attack. But right in the middle of all that, one person stands out. Gaban. Just to sidetrack for a bit, we've actually seen him earlier in the arc when Luffy, Nami, and Zoro along with Road ran into him while trying to get the key to Loki's chains. It was clear how strong he still was. The guy is just a total beast with his dual axes, as he should, being the former left-hand man of Roger. So a little bit of history behind Gaban. After Roger's execution, he quietly settled on Elbaf, married Ripley, one of the island's top scholars and teachers from the Walrus School, and started a family. Their son, Colin, is half-giant, which puts him in danger once the God's Knights start targeting the children. When Colin gets taken, Gaban does not hesitate. He jumps straight into the fight against Gunko and Summers, trying to stop them before they can hurt any more of the kids. But Gunko gets the upper hand by using Colin as leverage and forces Gaban to surrender. Then she fires one of her arrows and sends him crashing down into the underworld. That's where he runs into Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, who just regrouped and are getting ready to free Loki. So while Luffy's group is down in the underworld freeing Loki, things up top take a wild turn. So right before Gaban gets taken out by Gunko, Colin cries out for his dad, begging him to save him. And for a split second, it actually breaks through Gunko, who's just been acting straight up ruthless. She suddenly freezes, and the crazy part is that she gets a memory flash of her and Brook from when he was like alive, not dead alive. But before she could do anything else, the most insane, like the last thing you'd ever expect goes down. Emu hijacks Gunko like a busted Bluetooth speaker, turning giants into demons, and suddenly Elbaf is looking like a biblical fever dream. Now's the perfect time to dig into Emu and the freaky powers they're flexing, because we still don't know the source of those abilities, but from what we've seen so far, it's straight up terrifying. Emu takes on a devil form through Gunko's body. Wings, tail, and a trident. The first time we actually saw something like this was back at Pangea Castle with Sabo, and even then it was just a silhouette, but the size of that form rivaled the 5 Elders' zone transformations. But here on Elbaf, when Emu possesses Gunko, it's like a smaller version of that same transformation, but without the massive creature, whatever the hell Emu is, type shit. Then there's a Zatch Bell spellbook that Emu uses to summon semi-autos and likely any weapon that you can think of off the top of your head. They also use the same Abyss technique that we've seen before, but instead of traveling through it like Shamrock and Gunko did, Emu uses it to drag people inside it and twist them into demons that follow their commands. Two of the main techniques tied to this are Aquaru and Domi Reversi. Aquaru, or Demon's Contract, trades a piece of a person's lifespan for an immortal body bound to Imu's will. Domi Reversi takes it further, just fully submerging them into the abyss and flipping their loyalty so completely that even friends turn against each other. That's how Dory and Brocky end up under Imu's control as demons. So Luffy and the others below are unaware of this until Imu's Conqueror's Haki spreads all over Elbaf, causing the entire island to feel its effects. Luffy senses it immediately, even deep within the underworld, and he instantly locks in, saying, "I get the idea. I know what's up." However, the story doesn't end here. So instead of moving the battle forward, Oda is shifting the focus. This is when the story jumps back to the past, to the day King Harald was killed. And that's where we start seeing how all of this began, like why Loki was blamed, what really divided Elbaf, and how the current chaos ties back to it. But even with all that, the story isn't just about the fight, it's about what it means. So what's this arc really saying underneath all the fighting? That's where Elbaf gets a lot deeper. The main idea behind the Elbaf arc isn't just about war or politics, it's about love. Everything happening on Elbaf, from the fighting, the prejudice, and even Imu's control, all circles back to one thing. Hate only survives when people forget how connected they really are. The real way to stand up to the world government isn't just raw strength and power. It's about actually caring about each other instead of letting themselves be divided. You can really see that idea play out through characters like Gunko and Loki. Even with Gunko fully brainwashed by Imu, Colin's desperate cry for Gaban sparks this fleeting memory of her past with Brook, proof that even the strongest brainwashing can crack when true love hits. With Loki, all that rage in him, the anger and the hatred, started the day he was rejected at birth, and he grew up with zero love around him, just fear and rejection. And you can see how much that fucked up his entire career at life. So much so that you probably need to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the recap to cheer him up. But honestly, that's a big maybe. Together, they show both sides of the same problem. How people get twisted by a world that punishes connection instead of valuing it. Then you got Scopper Gaban, who's basically the opposite of both of them. He's just living proof that love can actually change things. It means everything because it breaks the world government's whole idea of racial purity. Even biologically, it proves that love can bridge any divide, whether it's size, race, whatever. Gaban's life is his message. Connection isn't weakness, it's evolution. But that message doesn't exactly fit with how Elbaf ran things for centuries. So the Giants have this eugenics policy. They value pure bloodlines and look down on anyone seen as mixed. It's created generations of trauma and resentment, and you see it most clearly with Hadrudin. He was considered illegitimate because of his mother's bloodline and was barred from taking the throne. And so instead of letting that crush him though, Hadrudin's been working to rebuild what Elbaf and just the Giants in general lost, trying to bring every giant tribe across the world back together. His dream mirrors Luffy's in a way. You can literally see that whole illusion of separation idea in the way Elbaf is built, and it makes the Land of Gods just the perfect starting point for the Elbaf arc, because it's basically a smaller version of the whole world Oda's been building this whole time. It's all fake. The entire land is just a diorama built inside a sealed chamber that once served as a prison for giants. Road, as the warden, repurposed it into a private zoo where he keeps his giant pets and a bunch of kidnapped intruders trapped in a loop. And that setup isn't random. It is exactly how Imu and the world government treat the whole world, like something that they can mess with from above. Just like the people inside the diorama, everyone under their rule lives inside a system built to look natural. But it's really just a controlled cage. Imu plays God, moving pieces around and deciding who gets to live free and who stays trapped. Spoiler alert, nobody gets to live free and everybody stays trapped. And if you look closer, even the way Road runs the Land of Gods drives that same point home. Inside his little fake world, Road literally pretends to be a god. He plays the role of the sun god for the captives, using his pets as the gods. The joke is, it's all just play pretend. None of this shit is real. It's the same move Oda pulled back in Skypiea with the Kashigami, who everyone thought was a god. Yeah, it was just a snake. The Shandians built a whole religion around an illusion. So when the Straw Hats break out of the Land of Gods, they're thematically breaking through the illusion that defines the world itself. Then there is the Harley, the ancient text that Elbaf treats as its sacred record of the world's history. It divides everything into three parts: the first world, the second world, and the third world, each one describing a different era of creation, destruction, and renewal. And alongside it is the Elbaf mural carved into the trunk of the treasure tree Adam. The mural visually tells us the same story as the Harley, showing figures that look like gods, monsters, and symbols of the sun, one of which clearly resembles Sun God Nika. To us readers, it's completely open to interpretation. The three worlds could represent the time before the Void Century, the Void Century itself, and the present day leading into the future. But one thing is clear. The Harley and the mural together tell the story of One Piece as a repeated cycle of destruction and rebirth. And it's also fitting that this is all happening in Elbaf, an island rooted in Norse mythology. It mirrors the idea of Ragnarok, the end of one world and the beginning of another. Gungo even hints at it, warning that there's going to be a huge war coming, one the world government plans to win by keeping the giants under control. So a core part of Elbaf's belief system comes from the ancient Harley text, which is the source of their worship of the sun god Nika. The giants view Nika as a symbol of freedom, joy, and destruction, but his image isn't uniform even among them because the Harley is so old, it's unclear whether Nika should be seen as a savior who brings light or a destroyer who ends the world. And this split runs through Elbaf's story today. It completely mirrors Loki's character, because when he was introduced, he called himself the sun god who would destroy the world. With Luffy taking on the role of sun god Nika after awakening his devil fruit in Wano, it's super clear that the idea isn't about choosing destruction or freedom, it's about both existing together. Because Luffy's role is to tear down oppressive systems so that real freedom can take their place. Even with everything we've seen, there's still a lot of threads hanging loose in the Elbaf arc. The biggest one is King Harald's murder. We now know that the royal guards were the ones who killed him, not Loki, but we still don't know why they did it or who gave the order. The flashback still has to dig into what really happened with King Harald's death, the cover-up that shaped Elbaf's recent history. There's also the mystery of the legendary devil fruit, the one Loki was accused of stealing. It's clearly connected to Elbaf's royalty power and the political shift that followed his death, but what it actually does and why it matters hasn't been revealed yet. There's also Gungo and Brook's past, meaning that there's definitely a lot more to Brook's character that Oda wants to explore, which is a nice change of pace since we usually don't get a whole lot of Brook development in the story in general. Another unanswered question is the true identity of Mosa, who we've yet to see in person, but is a good friend to Loki. We've been introduced to Ida, Hawtrudden's mother in the flashback, and there are hints that she might actually be the same person, which leaves even more room for some great character development for Loki in his arc. And finally, there's the practical question of how the hell do you beat the God's Knights? Gaban plans to teach Luffy and Zoro a new method of conqueror's haki that can bypass their immortality. Sanji, may join in too, since Oda has been hinting at the possibility of him awakening conqueror's haki, which I've broken down in this theory video here. This isn't just another island arc. Elbaf is just a pressure cooker for the entire story core. Love versus control, freedom versus God complex, and it's about to blow the fuck up. So if your memory is as cooked as Elbaf after you even showed up, I got a playlist that'll glue your timeline back together you can watch right now.